through yonder window breaks. It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief. That thou, her maid, art far more fair than she. Be not her maid, for she is envious. Her vestile livery is but sick and green, and none but fools do wear it. Cast it off. It is my lady. Oh, it is my love. Oh, that I knew she were. She speaks, yet says nothing. What of that? Her eye discourses. I will answer it.
That's it. That's what I got.
And, like this insubstantial pageant faded, leave not a rack behind. We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with a sleep. Bear with my weakness. My old brain is troubled. Be not disturbed with my infirmity. If you be pleased, retire into my cell, and there repose. A turn or two I'll walk, to still my beating mind. Thank you.
To be or not to be? That is the question. Whether 'tis nowhere in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep. No more. And by sleep we say to end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished, to die, to sleep perchance, to dream. Aye, there's the rub. When we sleep, for in that sleep of death, what dreams may come, when we have shuffled off this mortal coil, must give us pause. Thank you.
Daisy had it all figured out. But her smile was held together with lace, so frail it would snap at any second. And on Tuesday, she'd leave work early to go check up on her mom, but she's actually driving deep out of town to a therapist with a brown chair the color of Daisy's deep sun-kissed eyes shining with tears as she wipes him away off in the bathroom during lunch. Daisy had it all figured out. As she begs her ribcage not to spontaneously combust the contents of her morning breakfast and coffee, she drinks so much coffee one might think she had something to stay awake for, but that's just it! Caffeine's an addiction, clawing its way up through your throat and through your teeth until it breaks free and it spills out into the bathroom sink. Daisy had it all figured out. Until she's sitting in her desk with tears, until she's frantic to get home, until she's sitting on her favorite sofa with a gun hidden in the drawer behind her between her socks and underwear. Daisy had it all figured out. Found her way out and took it. And some might say that Daisy was a lost soul, too young, too brilliant, but Daisy had nothing figured out except for that exit sign. Ta-da.
If music be the food of love, play on. Give me excess of it, that's a fading, the appetite may sicken and so die. That strain again, oh, it had a dying fall. Oh, it came over my ear like the sweet sound that breathes upon a bank of violets, stilling and giving odor. Enough! No more! 'Tis not so sweet as it was before. O spirit of love, how quick and fresh art thou, that notwithstanding thy capacity, receiveth as the sea not hinters there, of what validity and pitch sower, but falls into the abatement and low price. Even in a minute so full of shapes is fancy, that it alone is high fantastico. Thank you.
She should have died hereafter. There would have been a time for such a word like tomorrow, tomorrow, and tomorrow. Creeps in a petty pace from day to day. Out, brief candle, out. A walking shadow, a poor player.
Lovers and madmen have such seething brains, such shaping fantasies that apprehend more than cool reason ever comprehends. The lunatic, the lover, and the poet are of imagination all compact. One sees more devils than vast hell can hold. That is the madman. The lover, just as frantic, sees Helen's beauty in a brow of Egypt. The poet's eye, a fine frenzy rolling, doth glance from heaven to earth, from earth to heaven. And, as imagination bodies forth the forms of things unknown, the poet's pen turns it to shapes and gives to every nothing a local habitation and a name. Thank you.
So good evening, everybody. I'm going to sing a cover song written by Sting, Inshallah. Inshallah, Inshallah, if it be your will, it shall come to pass. Inshallah, Inshallah. Sleeping child on my shoulder, those around us curse the sea. Anxious mother turning fearful, who can blame her, blaming me? Inshallah, Inshallah, if it be your will, it shall come to pass. Inshallah, Inshallah, if it be your will, it shall come to pass. As the wind blows, growing colder, against the sadness, as we flee, anxious eyes search in darkness with the rising of the sea. Inshallah, in Inshallah, inshallah, if it be your will, it shall come to pass.
So noblemente we in America. Oh, excuse me, I will speak English. We are finally here in America. My name is Francisco Soprani from the town of Morocco, Italia.
And I'm Lorenzo.
We just got off the boat from Nepali, or as you say, Nepal.
Lorenzo.
The voyage was miserable. The smell of amito and urina was a constant stare. We Italianos sailed in the third class, where our metal frames were filled with straw mattresses, and we used life preservers as pillows.
The food was not much better.
Not at all. But we managed to pass the time and distract ourselves by playing cards and singing and dancing. We knew that if we endured such a trip, our patience would be rewarded. And now, here we are, in America! I can't tell you what deep emotion I felt when I finally laid eyes on the Statue of Liberty. I took my cap off my head and placed it over my heart with tears in my eyes. But now, here we are, on the dock, next to the Great Hall on Ellis Island, where we await a medical examination before we are reunited with Mio Giuseppe!
Oh,
Giuseppe! America! He will take us to Mulberry Street in New York City, where we will... The ferry that came before us awaits our arrival!
That's right, that's where we go.
America! America!
My little Anonek, life is chapter after chapter. Each has lesson to learn. I remember and I learn from each chapter. They say you cannot remember your own birth, but I remember rich soil, fragrant with life, the rhythm of my rose-colored watered home, dancing with the motions of my mother. The vision of kaleidoscope filled my eyes. And then her eyes, my mother's eyes, such the color of the sky that you could see universe behind them. The beginning of my destiny lie within those eyes. Her eyes, the eyes of heaven.
I am a grad student from Yale who just so happened to fall asleep in the common area of her dorm. A white female student saw me sleeping there and decided to call the police. When the police arrived, they had me open my room with my key. Even then, it wasn't enough to identify who I was. So, they checked the database, but the database had my name misspelled. So they detained me until further notice. It seemed like I closed my eyes for a few seconds and my whole world had changed. Just like Rip Van Winkle, I closed my eyes for a few seconds and my whole world was gone.
She died of a fever, yeah, on the couch.
faculty, these stories are based off of true events and contain very sensitive material. Sharing what we've learned through these stories is part of our awakening, as well as part of our grieving process.
We are storytellers, a Greek chorus sharing what we learned. Some of these stories dovetail with countless other atrocities happening around the world. Just think about this. Some of these stories are hopeful for a new life and a new pace for people to start reuniting with families. And for many, the healing begins when they finally arrive in a new home.
Sharing an entire story in one evening is an impossible task. There are thousands of accounts, narratives, tales, and dreams that are any part of human crisis.
The following scenes and monologues were written in creative writing classes as part of a research assignment here at Pierce College during fall and winter quarter. Additional original material was inspired by interviews with real people at the detainment center in Tacoma who graciously shared their accounts. These interviews were conducted by faculty.
In September of 2014, a group of about 24 Yemeni teenagers set out to embark on an exchange program that was to last 1 year. This program was called YES, and it was supported by the U.S. Department of State. The students, aged 16 through 18, all attended various high schools. They were excited to be chosen for this special and highly competitive program.
They were expected to be returning home that June and complete their high school diploma or start at a university. They communicated with their families regularly and were hoping to go home soon. But in March of 2015, terrible news came to them about their home country.
Yemen was involved in a fully raging civil war. Not only was it unsafe to return home, there were no commercial flights flying into the country.
There were threats of bombings. The students soon learned that they could not return home. Yet, what's more, they were being told by family members that they should stay in the U.S., where it was safe.
These young people not only faced the terror of hearing that their families were imprisoned, but they also receiving news that their country was being destroyed building by building.
The U.S. State Department, knowing the students were all finishing school and had nowhere to go to since they could not return home, created a summer camp for the students to go to, hoping to buy them some time until the war had subsided and they could go home. But that did not happen.
They knew that they had to act quickly. The U.S. Department of State, which had other educational programs established, decided to partner with a group called CCI, Community College Initiative. They asked if any of the community colleges with CCI students could accommodate a few more. That's where Pierce College entered the picture.
In the fall of 2015, we had 2 young Yemeni girls and a Yemeni boy, all just turning 18, enroll at Pierce. Just think about what these students were going through. They wanted to go home. They wanted to be with their families, yet they were sent to a school they did not choose on their own.
It was chosen for them. They had no idea how long they would be here. They were immersed into a program with students from other countries like India, Pakistan, Colombia, South Africa, and Brazil.
They were placed in apartments to learn how to cook and clean, budget their money, and among all other things, study college-level English. These women, they wore hijabs, which are commonly worn by Muslim women. Unfortunately, it generated negative comments and prejudice. The sad part is, they couldn't communicate with their family about all the problems that they were going through.
It was months in between phone calls because of the inability to get service in Yemen. In that time, they had to wonder if their family and friends were even alive.
They watch news stories that show buildings they know in ruins, bodies lying in the street, terror on people's faces, which broke their heart. And remember, they were so young and had to deal with this horrible situation.
By the time the 2016 school year was over, the war still wasn't. All the students were told they had to be moved to yet another school. They wanted to stay here where they had planted their roots at Pierce College, but they were all moved to Edmonds. Eventually, the governments would no longer fund them. They had no authorization to work. They couldn't go home, and they had no funding here. They had to rely on the kindness of strangers in order to survive. They had no home.
Rosa Lisa, come meet your Papa. I was 5 years old, and until now, Papa met white envelope with red and blue stripes delivered by the post once a month. Papa is here, I'd cry out as postman closed the mailbox. If I was lucky, my brother Stanislaus would be tending the chickens and I would hold the envelope. The contents of the envelope were of the job my Papa held in America and money for the farm in Poland. That day, when I ran to meet Mother, I saw not familiar envelope, but a man stood before me. I had always been told, soon you will meet your Papa. I had no idea what form these letters would take like in human form. But this was not it. This did not seem right. As he reached out to me, my eyes were blank stare and my body as lifeless as a tree in winter. I could see the pain in his eyes, but I did not need this man in front of me. My only need was of my mother. So the canyon formed between my papa and myself, filled with the pain and confusion of absent father and his daughter. My father would travel 3 more times to America, twice leaving my mother pregnant. In the days after his departure, the farm was silent. It was as if the world had ceased to turn and the sun was not going to rise. But then, on the 7th day, the sun would rise again, and with it a more powerful version of my mother. Stanislaus, get the horses ready, please. Rosa-Lisa, fetch the cheese on the edge. We must get to town early if we want to get good price. This was the sign that signaled that my mother and her farm were back.
Gather round people wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you grow. Accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, then you better start swimming or you sink like a stone. For the times, they are changing. Writers and critics, criticize with your pens. Keep your eyes wide, the chance won't come again. And don't speak too soon, for the wheel's still in spin. And there's no telling who that it's naming. And the loser now will let her be the win. For the times, they are changing.
Oh man, have distance.
Don't sit under the apple tree with anyone else but me. Anyone else but me. Anyone else but me. No, no, no. Don't sit under the apple tree with anyone else but me. Till I come marching home.
No, God, please. No.
Oh, hey, Kyo. Wow, your painting's really coming along. You'll be the star of the talent show.
Thanks, Denny. Aren't you off to croissant practice?
It's lacrosse.
Oh.
And no, I'm going dancing with Jenny.
You dancing?
Believe it or not, your brother is the hot throb of Chilean High School. Ladies, I'm a man who can dance.
Can't!
Good morning, Father.
You off to croissant practice?
It's lacrosse.
Papa?
Dad?
Hiroshi, dear, what is it?
What's it say?
It says...
We have 3 days to pay you our home.
Daisies. Densuke, take your sister upstairs and have her show her the paintings for the talent show and help her pick out a piece. But I already...
Kyo.
Let's go. What?
Kuru!
Hero, why is this happening? This has to do with what happened at Pearl Harbor, doesn't it? What are we going to do?
I will talk to Paul.
Your coworker, what can
He
he
wants
do?
her home.
Hiroshi.
It's the only way to protect our house, Asako.
Not like this. We can't just leave our home.
It's the government. We can't very well ignore it. There will be consequences to pay.
We live in Puyallup, a small farming community. We lived here our whole lives. What can we possibly have to do with Japan?
We are Japanese. It doesn't matter. That's all they see. If we fight this, they'll take us as traitors.
Well, then let us face them. We did nothing wrong. Surely, they can see this. This has to be so.
There's no mistake in it.
We can write Congress. We are citizens.
Asako.
We are citizens, Hiroshi. You and I. We are Americans. We have lived here our whole lives. They must understand.
We knew this was going to happen when the bombings happened. It was going to happen sooner or later.
this, not like what they're doing in Europe. I mean,
We're not in Europe, don't say that.
but it says right here, look, assembly center. An assembly center for all of us who are Japanese. What do you think they're going to do to us?
They want to kill us off if they want us to provide for ourselves. Bedding, utensils, clothing. The United States is at war. They can't afford genocide.
And what makes you so sure? They're rounding us up, us specifically. It says right here, Japanese ancestry. I see nothing of those Italian or German descent. And what do you think they've been building at the fairhouse?
Sako.
It makes sense now.
Sako,
This isn't fair.
do not speak like that. Do not let the children hear you. Do you understand me?
But we'll die if we go there.
Tensai!
We'll just die.
Tensai! There's no need to lose your head now. We'll pack what we need, nothing more, and leave our valuables with friends.
But I'm scared.
I can't presume to know what the future holds. It's better to be prepared than to do nothing. Go, help the kids pack. I'll be with you shortly. The bamboo that bends is stronger than oak that resists.
Where are we? They're calling it Camp Harmony.
This is the farthest thing from harmonious.
Oka-chan, why are we at the fair?
They're gathering all the Japanese together.
But why?
Because they think we had something to do with the bombing. They think we're enemies of the nation.
The bombing in Hawaii? Children, this won't be forever. Okay?
They're building tent camps like this all across the country. 3 Japanese from all over the states.
Internment camps? Japanese internment camps?
This isn't right. I'm an American too. Lee, we're American too.
Are we going to be staying here with all these people?
It says our room is in Section D. It's near the grandstand.
Herded like cattle.
Do you see any of your friends?
Not all our friends were Japanese, mother.
Watch your tone.
I wonder if I'll see any of my friends again.
Kyoko!
Akane!
Oh my god, I'm glad you're here. Me too, there are so many strangers here. I was afraid I would never see you again.
Me too. Father, this is my friend Akane. They've been berries from the summertime together.
Oh, yes, I remember. It seems our daughters are good friends. I'm sorry we have to meet under circumstances like this, but I'm Hiroshi. This is my wife, Asako. Our son, Yasuki. And our youngest, Kyo.
Pleasure to meet you. My wife, Ayumi, my daughters, Akane, and Miho.
Do you know where you might be staying?
We'll be off at Section D, just east of here.
Do you know anything that's going on?
No, but my mother said it has to do with the war.
My brother said the same thing too. Something like that. Did you get a notice on your door too?
No, they were posting it all over downtown Tacoma. A group gathered, and my father went to see what it was about. So many people here, and I don't know how it fit.
I wonder if we'll see Kenji or Yame here.
I haven't seen them, but they probably are. I heard that my cousins from Alaska will be coming here. I don't know when they'll arrive, but we are looking for them.
From Alaska?
They are getting people as far south as Hawaii too. Mother says there are places like this all over the West Coast for Nikkei.
Only us. I heard somebody at the gate saying that Germans and Italians are being gathered too.
I don't know. What I know is what my parents say, and it wasn't too much.
Well, if anything, I'm glad you're here. It's always good to have a friend in times of trouble.
We'll be off to search for reporters now. I'm very happy to have you here. Likewise.
Father!
I don't know how long we're going to be here. With that said, we just have to stick together and be strong. Son, I know you're angry, but anger only leads to foolishness. And at a time like this, we can't be fools.
How can you be so calm?
Your father sees the larger picture. What if everybody gave in to temptation of rage? Look at me, Jin. We have each other. We have our health. We have our life. And just know that whatever may come is only temporary. Do you understand me?
Let's go. We'll find our quarters.
Snacks? No? Well, we'll be here.
place is? This is the Northwest Detention Center. It's one of the largest immigration prisons in the entire United States. And it's right here in Tacoma, would you believe? It holds 1,500 people. And it was built in 2004. What are we doing here? Well, we're hospitality. We're here to greet the family members and the friends who come to visit the people who are detained here. You look cold. Would you like some hot coffee or hot chocolate? No? Well, maybe after your visit. The visitors who come here, they're not allowed to bring any food, no food or drinks inside. And you know, some of them really drive from quite a distance. People come from Portland, maybe Eastern Washington. One time I even met a family who had driven all the way up from Southern California. I think that's probably the furthest I've ever met. So how did I get here, you mean? You mean right here with the hospitality table? Well, let me think a moment. I would say it was about 5 or 6 years ago. We were doing this study unit that was put out by the Presbyterian Church on peacemaking. Our group right here, we're from Emmanuel Presbyterian Church. We take the first Saturday of every month. There are other groups that take the other Saturdays, and between us, every Saturday is covered. So, we had done this great study unit on peacemaking, and we were finished with it. And we'd had such a wonderful experience with it that we told ourselves, this can't end here. We wanted to do something else. We really needed to do something else. And somehow we came upon the idea of immigration. It was a very grassroots decision. So we have our hospitality table, but we also have folks who literally open their homes to people. There are 5 couples in our church who are prepared to bring somebody into their home, starting on like a Friday night, maybe going till Monday morning. It's never very long term, just very short term. But if somebody gets released and they need some place to stay until their family can come get them, or until they can get their bus or their plane that will depart for wherever their family is, then the Immigration Rights Group will get in touch with our volunteers to let them know that we'll be hosting somebody that weekend. You know, people have asked us before if there's any fear there, any fear about opening our homes to people. And you know what? The answer to that is no. Our volunteers never hesitate. They never express any fear about this, because the people who've been detained are so thankful. In fact, I know one lady who tells a story about hosting somebody on the weekend. And she woke up the next morning, and the man is out in front of her house. He's out there sweeping her porch and the walkway leading up to her house. He was so thankful for what was happening, how they were helping him. He felt that he needed some way to say thank you. So, is there any fear there? No, there is no fear. Juan, I wonder if you'd like to come up and talk to our guests for a few minutes. I'm going to take the rest of the group for a break. See you later. You guys.
I remember having no fear. My name is Oren Fran. I was a detainee at the Northwest Detention Center. My family, we were Vietnamese boat people. In 1980, we escaped Saigon, or what was called Ho Chi Minh City. We escaped the country where I was born. But I remember not having any fear. I had no fear because I didn't really know. I was 16, and I remember we were comfortable. I remember trips to the beach. I remember a vacation to Hong Kong with my parents. My parents had their own business. They assembled sets of pots and pans. We had to attach the lid to the sets of pots. We had a machine at home that did this. And we would have workers over at our house helping out with this machine, attaching the lids to the sets of pots and pans with the wire. I remember when it rained. We used to go out and run from house to house, street to street. When it rained in Vietnam, it felt really good. I remember I wasn't supposed to go. My dad and brother, they were going to go, and I remember I asked my mom and dad, can I go? And I don't know why I asked. I just remember that my dad and brother were going, and I asked, can I go? And they surprised me, my mom and dad. They said, yes, I can go. I had no idea where or why we were going. My dad said yes because he said they could use a girl with them to do the cooking. But I didn't know how to cook. We had someone living with us in Vietnam that did the cooking and cleaning. We were comfortable, so I never cooked. I remember I wasn't supposed to go, but we escaped, and I was supposed to cook. I had no idea. Most of the people who escaped from Vietnam were men, not women. They had to hide from people. They had to wear all black. When I look back, I remember we were staying in the rice paddy. We were staying as low as we can. My most vivid memory. "53 people on the boat, all crammed in the boat. It was 1980, so I was 16. And when I wear black clothing, even today I remember. I remember I still have my earrings on. I didn't take them off as we escaped. No one said, don't wear that. No one said, don't wear those earrings or you might draw attention to yourself. I had no idea of the danger.
I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. I'm walking and talking with my mind stayed on freedom. I'm walking and talking with my mind stayed on freedom. I'm walking and talking with my mind stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Oh, there ain't nothing wrong with keeping my mind stayed on freedom. I said there ain't nothing wrong with keeping my mind stayed
Central Library of the University of Chile.
A military general walks in and demands everything the library has on Nazi torture techniques.
A year goes by and now it's September 11th, 1973. Bombs explode at the Moneda Palace. General Pinochet has thrown a military coup that will change my country forever. The bombs kill not only democracy, but our democratically elected president, Salvador Allende.
Across our stadiums. Mostly young people, students, especially those of indigenous origin.
I'm waiting for a bus and a whole line of jeeps comes out of nowhere. The military officer points their gun at me and orders me inside. They harass me, shouting questions.
One says, check her out. My heart bursts, and for some odd reason I feel powerful and strong. I say,
Check me out if you want. Do it now! Why did I say that? I have books by Marx and Engels in my bag, for God's sake.
I must have a guardian angel, because suddenly they stop me at the stadium and shout,
Yeah! I have the Marx and Engels. Early that day, my father and I had gone looking for our Bolivian mentor Victor. We found his apartment door broken, his place trashed, everything a mess. The military had gotten there first. We tried looking for him in the stadium, but had no luck. We never hear from him again. He becomes one of the disappeared.
For weeks, you can see thousands of their headless bodies floating down the Mapocho River. Even after that horrible time, I'm not safe, you see. I know things, like the name of the people in the left-wing party. One is the priest in the liberation theology movement. Even after knowing these friends are only guilty of being loyal to our former president is a crime. A crazy guy starts following me and calling me at home and work all the time. He wants to meet me in isolated places. He wants to rub hot empanadas over my body. Sometimes, when I answer the phone, all I hear is laughing.
I turn around just in time to avoid the knife he throws at my back. He finally corners me on a bus. I try to get off, but the bus driver won't stop or let me off. I'm alone with this weird guy holding a cigarette like he plans to burn me with it. A common torture technique. But for some reason, he let me go.
Next, they go after my daughter. They try to kidnap her from daycare.
I'm getting desperate now. I report the kidnapping to the authorities. They tell me if I arrive at a certain time and place and do exactly as I'm told, they'll get rid of this guy for me. But it's all set up.
My father warns me not to go, and I know why. If I do, I could be thrown in a torture camp, or worse, tossed out of a helicopter. Instead, he arranges for me to fly out of Chile secretly. Not even my brothers know I fled. My daughter stayed behind. My angel. My heart.
In Seattle, people help me. I marry and become legal, and bus able to save 2 tickets. A year later, Emilia, my sister, arrived with my daughter. The happiest day of my life.
Some are still on Pinochet's side. The government lies so well that our friends only learn the truth about the coup and all the killings through our letters. My sister and I build new lives, not the ones we planned. Lives without friends, brothers, parents, and the dreams that we had as girls. Mine as a librarian, and Amelia's as a musicologist.
I settled in California. One day my husband and I are looking at houses, and the realtor finds out that I'm from Chile and says,
Really? Chileans are so smart. How do I know that?
I was in the Navy in 1973. I was helping your people. I was actually stationed right off the coast, training with Pinochet and everything. Your Chileans are really smart. I am mute with shock.
I bet that realtor sleeps well at night. And Henry Kissinger, too. And Nixon and the CIA. Henry Kissinger shattered democracy in Chile.
60,000 tortured and 30,000 dead. Wounds that will never heal. An entire generation sacrificed to breathe.
I bet that man doesn't dream about the students buried in the desert, or the ones with their minds and bodies tortured, or the ones thrown by helicopter into the sea.
But I do. In my dreams, I see their corpses lying on the ocean floor, staring up at me. Their eyes full of questions like, Sophia!
How does it feel to find refuge in a country that you needed refuge in the first place?
And
Sophia! The United States is the land of the free. Why did it kill freedom in Chile?
I have no answers to these questions. I keep curled inside
Satan's silence as hidden as the story I just told you.
Thanks for letting me break that silence for the first time.
My name is Sophia.
Our story takes place in a small village of Kashmir, right on the border of Pakistan and India, on the Pakistan side. The year is 1988, a beautiful village nestled between the mountains and the rivers that divide the nation. It's an interesting thing to live in one country, look across the water and see another, know that both sides are still Kashmir.
Oh, those poor boys. I do hope they make it here soon. I should probably turn on the radio. What was that? Oh, goodness, it's a car door. Good morning. Good morning.
Sorry I'm late, Professor Hammond.
Oh, good morning, Bee. I don't have any papers for you. You'll have to share with Barb.
Have you guys heard anything on the radio?
Of course, we've heard the radio. Nothing has happened for several days.
What are you talking about, Dean? Something happened last night. Professor Hamish, can you turn the radio on? I'm telling you,
Everyone's fine. I spoke with Amir and Nono this morning. They just didn't see the point of coming in. I'm sure everyone else can say the same.
Well, that's certainly their prerogative. No one can blame them for that. But in case you forgot during this time, I do need to teach you something. We do have exams in 6 months.
Professor Hamish, you don't expect us to pass that exam, right? And who can blame us? Look at the village that they came from. And you know why? We have more important things to do.
If I'm being honest, Amit has been here for every lecture in the last 18 months. If I'm being honest, Amit has a good concept of the course material. And if I'm being honest, Amit has a good chance to pass the exams unless all of you start taking this seriously. I'm fighting for your future, Barb. Maybe someday men like you can change this place.
Professor Hamish, I was overlooking the packet besides the usual typo. I think I found a mistake. Is this correct?
Why are the lights on?
Amelia! Where have you been?
How was that lecture today?
Today? Doesn't Hamish pay attention to the news? Doesn't he have a radio on in the classroom?
Mom, all things considered, today really was a good day for a lecture. It's the first lecture you've had in over 2 months. I'm excited to go.
I just don't want you to be out any more than you have to.
Are you still going to Grandma's tonight?
Yes, Princess, I go every Sunday.
But Mom just said she doesn't want you leaving the house.
No, she said that she wants Mom as much as possible to pay attention, Jad.
You pay attention. She doesn't want him leaving. Look at her face, Barlin. Just go finish the dishes and go clean the kitchen.
Mom, I'm going to Grandma's house.
Of course you are not. Look outside. See how dark it is?
Mom, it's still light out.
No, it's not. We're turning the lights off now. You need to go to school, I mean, I get that. But you need to be home before dark. It's not safe. You know we kept the lights on for you.
Then don't keep the lights on for me. You should have turned them off an hour ago.
If it's dark enough for us to have the lights on, it's too dark for you to be out. Remember that when you're at Grandma's tomorrow. Pay a little bit more attention to the time, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Good night. We're turning the lights off now.
Ooh, on me.
Ooh, a ghost.
Are you in trouble?
My friends, I'm not in trouble. Mom just concerned about me.
Well, she has good reason to be. It was getting late.
But I have to go to college, Cheyenne.
Why?
Because I want to leave here. I want to take you both with me. Someplace where we can stay out.
Why would we want to leave here?
You know what, Cheyenne? I don't know. Maybe you and Marlon should go to bed. Grandma!
Oh, Hamid, you came. Oh, you always think of your grandma. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. How are your siblings?
Me and Mom had an argument last night, and sometimes I want to leave here.
You want to leave? Hamid, this is your home. You can't leave. Your family's here.
Why do you stay here, Grandma?
This is my home. I was born here. I am going to die here.
can't run away.
But it's just a place, Grandma. Who cares about a place? Why does the dirt the house is built on matter more than the people who built it? Why does the wood the walls are made of matter more than the people they were made to protect? I want to leave because I care about my family.
Oh, Hamid. Have you heard the story of the lawyer and the fisherman?
No.
Let me tell you the story. Sit down. There was a fisherman one day that met a lawyer out in the street, and they started talking. So the lawyer asked the fisherman, "What do you do for a living?" "I'm a fisherman." "What does your father do?" "He was a fisherman. Fishing has been in the family for generations," explained the fisherman to the lawyer. "You said he was. Did your father pass away?" asked the lawyer. "Yes, he passed away at sea some time ago." "Oh, what about your grandfather?" "My grandfather passed away some time at sea before that," said the lawyer, laughing. "Tell me, aren't you afraid of dying, Mr. Fisherman, at sea? Your father died at sea, your grandfather died at sea, aren't you afraid you're going to die at sea?" No, I just never thought about it, Mr. Lawyer. But can I ask you a question? Yes? How did your father die? My father died of cancer in a hospital bed some time ago. Oh, what about your grandfather? My grandfather had a heart attack. He died in the middle of the night in his bed. Let me ask you a question. Your father died in bed. Your grandfather died in bed. Aren't you afraid of dying in bed? Asked the fisherman. You get it?
No.
Oh! What does it matter what you do or where you live? You're gonna die. Dying is in our family. It's part of the human condition, you know? Be happy, Amin. Be happy here. Your family's here. You can die anywhere, anytime. But here.
You see that crater? That's right where I was.
Amin, it's a sign. It's a sign you're supposed to stay. Let's go to the shop.
The year was 1988. The war had been going on for 41 years. It's an interesting thing to live in one country, look across the water and see another, to know that both sides are still Kashmir. Families have been divided that haven't seen each other for decades, and the governments don't care. The year is now 2018. Over 100,000 have died, and the bombs continue to drop.
Stanislaus was nearing 18 years old, and his vision could see beyond staying poor farmer caring for mother and sisters. So in assertion of his manhood, he told Papa that he would go to America, and that Papa would stay at home. So it was done. My brother's place on the farm was taken by a man I did not know. So after Stanislaus left, the years passed, as they always do, caring for my younger sisters, tending the animals, bartering goods in town. I had just turned 14, and my formal education was over. Life on the farm began to change. I spent more and more time away from my parents. My mother now had to share control of the farm with the family, with her husband. And I felt no commitment to him or his discipline. So, the river became my solace. As I sat on her banks, my thoughts became one with the water cascading over the stones. And my thoughts would turn to Stanislaus. Could this river take me to the ocean and to my brother? Would the river guide me to my destiny? The river's voice filled me with a yearning for what I was meant to be, for my destiny.
Last call for Tacoma. I should quit smoking.
Excuse me.
Where you headed, kid?
Anywhere but here, sir.
I see. You're running from your troubles. Seen it plenty of times. Let me just tell you, no matter how far you run, they'll always be right behind you.
With all due respect, sir, it's a little bit more than that. I mean, my whole life I never really felt like I belonged here, you know? I mean, sure, I was born in Aberdeen and my family's here. But what good is that? They don't accept me for me or, well, for my music.
Some pretty deep stuff, kid.
Yeah.
But let me just ask you, what do you expect to find on your horizon?
I'm hoping to find where I fit, you know? A place where I can be myself, with no judgment, especially for those I love. I mean, sure, one day I'd like to return to the place I call home. For now, I take the journey for what it is.
Well, I wish you the best of luck, kid, and I hope your journey leads to happiness.
Thank you.
So where can I book your ticket?
Oh. I guess I'll start in Olympia.
It's a great choice, kid. That'll be $375. What do they call you?
Kurt.
Hey, Kurt, can I have one more thing?
Yeah.
The path leads you home.
Me too, sir. Me too.
Near the southwestern border, the American and Mexican deserts are strewn with thousands of bodies veiled under sheets of sand. Go see for yourself. Thousands, I tell you. In the deserts, they hold secrets, whispers in the wind, and languages that many of you can't even understand. But I remember the wind wrapping its tongue around me. Just before the siren swelled, before the coyote vanished, speaking to me, calling me by name, and I understood every word. Don't trust the coyote, it said. You give the coyote money to send you to freedom, but the coyote is evil. He kills. He tortures. He ties you to the trees. He casts you to the desert, saying, find your freedom. I heard many horrible secrets in the desert. Here's what I'm going to share with you.
3 days before my departure, my grandma and grandpa took me to see my entire family that I'll be leaving in El Salvador. It was one of the saddest moments in my entire life. I remember taking the last picture with my cousins, and till this day I still have the picture. Our eyes were very watery, and it was very emotional in general. The day of my departure, my grandma and grandpa took me to the bus station. He took us out to eat pupusas for the last time, and when I was at the bus station, I started crying uncontrollably. My grandma pulled me towards her, kissed me on my forehead, hugged me tight, and I realized that at that moment she was also crying with me. I remember her last words. They were, "You are going to make it okay to your parents. Don't worry." As our journey begins, the coyote tells us that if we see immigration at any point during our trip, we need to run the other way. As soon as we step into Mexico, this group started going to different directions and into different safe houses. However, the two that were coming along with us never made it to the safe house, and the coyote never wanted to tell us what had happened with them. We soon learned that we are going to have to cross the Rio Grande. The water only goes up to my uncle's knees, and I have a floater. As soon as we finish crossing the river, we start walking into the desert, and we suddenly heard this helicopter coming. So the coyote yelled, "Disperse and hide." Somebody grabs me hard. We all run into different directions, trying to hide anywhere. We end up finding a big enough bush to stay in for the helicopter to leave. And as it was leaving, I heard this quad motorcycle that belongs to immigration. So we stayed in there for a longer time, and it's gotten really dark. And I'm really scared because we're alone in the desert. We walk for a few more hours, and we hear this car coming towards us. This time it was the coyote. He was looking for us. You can see the sunrise in the distance, and we finally reach another safe house. We start walking again at around 10 a.m. and this time the coyote does not come with us. He sends us walking alone and tells us where to walk. So we walk until we get to the city. As soon as we step onto the paved roads, across the street, this white man with green stripes pulls up behind us and tells us that we should stop walking. We're arrested. We're taken into a detention center. 2 days later, both my parents are in Texas ready to get us out of the detention center. ICE drives us to where my parents were already waiting for us. And when I got off the truck, I saw somebody open the passenger door. It was my mother. I ran towards her to give her a hug, and as I was running, I ran past a man. But I don't really care, just keep running towards her, squeeze her. I finally saw the man, and my mother asked me, "You know who the man is?" "No." "Who is he?" "He's your father." I ran towards him as tears just literally started forming on my face. I didn't recognize him at all. He started hugging me and telling me how sorry he is for leaving me at such a young age and how happy he is to see me for the first time. He carries me on his back as we head over to the car, get ready for our home. My new home.
I signed up.
To protect my family.
Community.
In the United States of America.
Life was simple.
Laid out to the schedule.
I wasn't alone. I had
My fellow brothers.
and sisters in uniform to watch my six, and I had theirs in return.
Contact! No matter the cost.
I and my fellow service members would always ensure that no one would get left behind.
We had the greatest camaraderie we've ever seen. Basic to my unit, I was never alone.
Even on the battlefield, protecting others from the enemy.
We had each other.
But then, it happened.
The enemy got to us. As we dug in, they kept coming more and more, unrelenting.
Fatigued, thirsty, hungry, we were surrounded.
RPG, get down!
Dizzy and confused, I scrambled to look around. I was still alive and able to get out of there. But that fucking RPG had hit my brothers and they were screaming in agony. Look, I'm sorry, buddy. I shouldn't have taken my anger out on you. I'll be fine without a jacket. I haven't been in the cold in a long time, man. I miss it.
You miss the cold? I actually hate the cold. If I could escape it, I would. Where did you stay that wasn't cold?
I was a captain in the Army. My platoon and I were in Iraq for a long time. Iraq's just it's a big fucking desert. Miles and miles of sand. It's either burning hot or freezing cold at night.
You're in the military? That must have been so awesome with all the guns and traveling around the world.
So many. No one should
have to go through what we did.
But someone's got to do it. And since I got home,
So small, but I noticed.
something is taking over my mind. Like a parasite, I long to be normal. My family didn't understand. I yearn for relief and I get none.
Not even a god.
The neighbors look at me strangely.
Always asking me if I'm okay.
Even when they tell me that I need to be admitted, they knew nothing. They're isolating me.
Only want to be understood. I can't take it anymore.
I can't take it anymore. My head is spinning out of control.
I become so hungry.
Depressed. Completely useless to society.
I can't find any help.
I wish I could enlist, so I can help you, sir.
I don't think anybody's tough enough for war. My platoon wasn't. I wasn't.
Jacob! Alright, that's my dad. I must go home. Do you have a home? Where do you live?
I used to live in that house right there. I can't bring myself to stay a night in it.
Don't you miss your own home?
I do. I really do.
Then go home.
No, it's okay, kid. I can't go home. I can't stand to have my neighbors just surrounding me and the media asking me all these questions. I can't relive the past. You know, I pray for relief, but none comes. I ask for help, and all that's offered to me, these fucking pills. I cry myself to sleep at night. I'm alone with nowhere to go.
Wait, you were on the media? So, you were on TV? Are you some top military officer or something?
Top? No. I'm just the one that lived. That's the only thing that makes me special.
Jacob! I wish I could enlist and go fight.
It's not like that, kid. It's tough out there.
I gotta get going. It was nice meeting you. Take care of yourself.
This conflict is just too much to carry on any longer.
I'm an American soldier, a refugee in your community.
Will you help me find home?
Ever since, it's been a long time coming, but I know the change gon' come. Oh yes it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die. What's up there beyond the sky? It's been a long time coming, but I know change gon' come. Oh yes it will. I go to the movies and I go somebody keeps telling me don't hang around. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Oh yes it will. So I go, my brother, and I say, brother, help me please. But he winds up knocking me back down on my knees. Oh, there were times that I thought I couldn't last for long, but now I know I'm able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gon' come. Oh yes it will.
The
remember what it was like before the hurricane. The streets were paved with gray bricks that contrasted the different colors of all the homes and businesses. Each one was not the same, but each was just as beautiful as the next.
I remember Senor Gonzalez. He owned a small grocery store across the street. He was a kind man that always made sure to keep the street in front of his shop clean when he could. He had a wife and a young daughter that would help out in his shop.
It's pretty safe in the street where I lived. Kids didn't play on the street without worrying too much. Not a lot of cars came down the road, and everything was in walking distance. Everybody pretty much knew everybody since we all kind of grew up here.
Life was good for us, I think. I still think my community is amazing. We're all there for one another and are like one big family. We would not know how important this day would be until that fateful day the hurricane tore across the islands.
We were one of the lucky ones. The four walls of our house were still standing, but the hurricane took our roof. I've never been more terrified in my entire life. Some of the stores are now just piles of rubble. Power lines are down, sagging in the street. Pipelines are broken, spewing water and sewage.
The tree has speared another tree. Neighbors shuffling through the street, helping one another. Others shifting through the rubble, looking for their belongings. The saddest to see are those who are still looking for their missing loved ones.
After the hurricane, everything changed. There were no longer happy sounds of children playing in the street, but stunned silence. And mothers are trying to calm down their babies despite long nights, and fathers and grandfathers are now coming together to look for survivors.
Unfortunately, our little community was hit hard and there were deaths. If all of us are to survive this, we need clean water, food, medicine, roads, power, the basics that we thought we would never lose. After all, we are Americans. And Americans help one another, right?
I really don't want to see it. Please tell me it's okay.
I'm sure our house is fine. I'll tell you when I see it.
I hope it's okay. If it's not, where do we go? You heard the ladies at the shelter. Barely any help from the U.S. is coming. And what are we going to tell the kids? How are we going to tell them that's all going to be okay after this mess? Just please tell me you see it.
Elena, just calm down.
Martin, please tell me.
I don't see it.
What?
I can't find it. That wall over there must be our neighbor's house. That garage over there must be our other neighbor's house, but I don't see our house.
It's gone. Our home is gone. What do we do now? Where do we go? It's like it never existed.
I don't know.
We weren't too sure what to expect when the first hurricane warnings arrived. Rain? Surely. Wind? Yeah. But it wasn't until the power went out that we realized something was seriously wrong.
The writers have it wrong, you know. Hell isn't some burning pit of suffering and despair, punishment for those who have sinned.
Standing alone in my basement, waiting to hear from my family to know that they were okay, that's hell.
It was the first time I'd eaten food without my family around me. Uncle, auntie, my brother, mother and father. Even though the soup was a warmth I hadn't experienced in days, I had no appetite without their presence.
Selma, I'm so sorry. This isn't the birthday that you were expecting. We don't even have a cake for you.
It's okay, Auntie. There will be other birthday and other cakes.
It just isn't fair.
What if we sing you a song for your birthday?
Yeah.
Yeah, now you have a candle. Be sure to wish us all a better tomorrow, okay? Quiet now. Today is a very special day. It is the birthday of our friend, Selma. We have a song just for you.
No más desear
al principio, tras el vestigio, un paraíso que me deshizo. Otro hogar no hay, otro hogar no hay, otro hogar no hay, otro hogar no hay. Y sin saberlo, a donde vaya, ya sé llegar. Sin sitios ajenos, ya no los hay. Reminiscencias, cuando inocencias, a ti borrarás, de mí borrarás. Paraíso que me deshizo. Otro hogar no hay, otro hogar no hay, otro hogar no hay, otro hogar no hay.
Sometimes all it takes in the face of a gray wave is one person to stand up. We may have lost our homes, many of our loved ones, and face a future unknown, but we can rest in the thought that we are facing it together. And that, no matter how often we move, we can always find home in the people around us. We're taking a 10-minute intermission, everyone.